Hello everyone and welcome back to The Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, The Lost Planeswalker, and today we're going to do the first deck of the Ravnica Murder at Karpov Manor set, and this one I'm very excited for because we have Alquist, Proft, Master Sleuth. Alquist, Proft, Master Sleuth is a legendary creature, human detective with vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, you investigate. Okay, cool. Then for X, white, blue, tap, sack a clue, you draw X cards and gain X life. Now this is a very cool commander because one, we're going to be creating a ton of clue tokens in order to activate this ability, but it's also kind of your draw engine and life gain engine in one. So there's a lot of different ways you can build around this deck. You know, I kind of built around it in a good stuff sort of sense where you have a lot of good cards here and there that are going to help you kind of fill out this deck. But there's a lot of things you can do, you know, if you want to go card draw route, if you want to go life gain route, you know, just creating a bunch of tokens. You know, there's a lot to cover. So I'm very excited, and I'm going to be doing the decks a little differently than I normally have been doing them. I'm going to be talking about only a few cards from each of the categories I kind of break them down into, and then kind of list them off. And if you want to check them out, you can go to my deck list in the video description. It's just a way in which to not waste your time by reading every card unnecessarily and just showing off some of the cooler versions I think you should have. So let's dive right into the first section, which are going to be creating clue tokens or investigating. Okay, we're going to be caring about that. So the three cards I want to show off are Academy Manufacturer, 500-Year Diary, and Wojak Investigator. So Academy Manufacturer says if you create clue, food, or treasure token, instead create one of each. So this can be a great way to get you a ton of mana, a ton of food. You can either use that, you know, to gain some life, or, you know, maybe use with your commander to draw a bunch of cards by having all that extra mana on hand. 500-Year Diary is a new artifact from the Doctor Who Commander decks, which is a clue itself, and says 500-Year Diary enters battlefield tap. Tap it to add a blue for each clue you control, or 2 sack it and draw a card. Now obviously, we really care about it for its, you know, creating a ton of blue mana, which we can use on our commander or just cast other spells. But this is a very cool new card, and I expect to see this in a lot of these decks. And lastly, we have Wojak Investigator, which is a new card from this upcoming set. And it's an angel detective with flying and vigilance, and at the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent who has more cards in hand than you. Right now, this card is priced at like $14, which I think is awfully high, but it does give white a kind of interesting amount of card draw, because I could see this in my angel deck being super helpful because there's a lot of times I just don't have any cards in hand, so this is going to be awesome. And then before I talk about the rest of the cards, I just want to talk about some notable one drops. We have Novice Inspector, Secrets of the Key, and Thraben Inspector. All of these are very similar. Whenever you cast or play them, you're going to investigate, which I think is pretty cool. Just an easy way to get tokens on the battlefield for very cheap to use with your commander, or if you just need to draw a card. The other cards in this set are Daring Sleuth, Disorder of the Court, and Fatal Absence. Daring Sleuth does transform into Bearer of the Overwhelming Truths, which is cool. And then we have Sally Sparrow and Tamio's Journal. So next up, I want to talk about some mana ramp, because obviously, you know, one of the goals of this deck with having an engine commander like this is to get enough mana to where you can, you know, activate him and draw a bunch of cards and gain a bunch of life. So first off, we have Archimancer's Map, Burnished Heart, and Deep Known Terramancer. Archimancer's Map says whenever it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic plains cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Then whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player controls more lands than you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. This is a great way, especially if you're playing a bunch of green decks, to gain some card advantage and being able to play out your plains in your hands more frequently. Next up is Burnished Heart. This is an all-star staple in Commander, but 3 sack it, search for up to 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. There's a lot of decks where you can kind of bounce this back from your graveyard onto the battlefield and just keep activating it to just keep dumping more and more lands. And then we have Deep Gnome Terramancer, which has Flash and Mold Earth. Whenever 1 or more lands enter the battlefield under an opponent's control without being played, you may search your library for a plains card, put on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Do this only once each turn. And then the other cards we have in the mana ramp section are Arcane Signet, Azorius Signet, Kirkclan Ironworks, Soul Ring, and Thought Vessel. So now I'm going to talk about some additional card draw or cards that let you play stuff, you know, from your library or whatever. Just going to give you some overall better power. So starting off, we have Aphera, God of Poilos, Inspiring Overseer, and Lauren of the Third Path. Aphera, God of Poilos, is a really cool god from Theros that has indestructible as long as your devotion to white and blue is less than 7. This isn't a creature, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you had another creature enter the battlefield under control last turn, draw a card. This is very fun. I actually have a modern deck where I put this in because I'm basically drawing a card every turn if I can play a creature, so it revolves around a bunch of cheap creatures. So this is a very fun card. It's going to help you get some extra card draw. Inspiring Overseer has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain a life and draw a card. Just a cool little guy. Next up, we're going to be talking about cards you exile and want to bring back, and this is definitely another target there where you can just exile this and continue to gain life and draw cards. And Lauren of the Third Path is an awesome card from the Brother Wars set that says Vigilance. Whenever Lauren of the Third Path enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. You can tap her to make you and opponent each draw a card, which maybe you're doing some politicking, or maybe you just need a card draw and you're just like, alright, well, you can have one as well. But other great cards in this are Arcane Denial. I like this because your opponent draws 2, but you still get to draw a card. Archivists of Gondor, Cut a Deal, Arunt in Giada, Kawain, Irritant Meddler, Parselmere, Ponder, Preordain, Sublime Epiphany, and Swans of Bryn Argul. Now, before I talk about some great stuff we want to exile and bring back, I just want to say, if you aren't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I'm going to be trying to put out a bunch of these Murder at Karlov Manor videos. You know, it's my first video of the year. I'm trying to get on track this year to get a ton of videos out and do a lot of really fun stuff. So if you enjoy this, or if you like the new format that I'm doing and you've watched my videos in the past, you know, please let me know. I'm just trying to make these a little bit more streamlined and not read through everything. You know, that's kind of the way I started out doing all my videos, and I've stuck to it, but it's a new year. I want to change up some stuff and see how you guys like it. So please let me know down in the comments down below. But now let's look at some great exile and blink targets. Now, I've already talked about a bunch of stuff. You know, basically anything that can draw you cards, anything that gets you lands, anything that makes clue tokens are all great here. But there were just a couple cards that didn't really fit in anywhere else that I wanted to call out, like Scheming Fence, Shipwreck Dozer, and Teleportation Circle. Scheming Fence is a cool creature because as it enters, you may choose a non-land permanent. Activated abilities of chosen non-land permanent can't be activated. Then, Scheming Fence has all activated abilities of the chosen permanent except for loyalty abilities. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate those abilities. So this, you know, in our blink section of this deck, this is going to be able to lock out your opponents from being able to do some stuff, which I really like. Next up, we have Shipwreck Dozer, which has prowess, and then when it enters, you can turn an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand, which is going to be great for us because we have a lot of really good instant sorceries that deal with countering and destroying stuff. And Teleportation Circle, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its control. Being able to, you know, do all the things that I already previously said is very good. But other great cards, we have Archaeomancer, Black Myth Skill, Crackling Counterpart, Ephemerate, Thassa Deep Dwelling, and Yorian Sky Nomad. So the next section is all about removal, and there's a lot of it in this deck because, you know, we have a couple different ways that we can win and gain some card advantage, but we really want to try and put our opponents back as much as possible. So we have a lot of things to help destroy their stuff or, you know, wipe the board. Starting with, we have Cathar Commando, Farewell, and Fractured Identity. Cathar Commando is one of my favorite cards ever printed, but it has flash, and then for 1, sack it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Farewell is from Kamigawa and is probably one of the best board wipes ever printed so far, but we can choose 1 or more. We can exile all artifacts, all creatures, all enchantments, and all graveyard. So we have these choices that we can kind of protect our board and kind of ruin our opponents. And then Fractured Identity is just a fun sorcery that says exile target non-land permanent. Each player, other than its controller, creates a token that's a copy of it. So if maybe your opponent has a, you know, synergy piece that's gonna really put them ahead, but wouldn't really help anybody else, you can kind of do this, or maybe it's a combo piece that you also need in your deck. This is kind of a cool way to get it. But the other cards I have under removal are Absurd, Austere Command, Dovin's Veto, Generous Gift, Get Lost, Path to Exile, Reflector Mage, Supreme Verdict, and Time Wipe. In the last category today, I'm going to be talking about some good stuff, some just other stuff to help round out your deck. Maybe it's other win cons, maybe it's stuff to protect you. So starting out, we have Ghostly Prison, Godhead of Awe, and Laboratory Maniac. So Ghostly Prison is an enchantment that says creatures can't attack you unless the controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. You know, this is very much a control deck. Obviously, we had all those, you know, counter spells and board wipes, so we really want to control the board, and this is another great way to to force our opponents to either, be able to play stuff or attack us. Godhead of Awe is a very fun card that I found out when I was researching this deck, and it is hybrid white-blue 5 times. So you either pay 5 white, 5 blue, or any mix of in between. But it says flying and other creatures are 1/1. We really don't care if all of our creatures are 1/1s because, we have a lot of cool activated abilities that we really care about on them, but everybody else is just going to suffer from this. So this is a very, very cool thing to do. In Laboratory Maniac, if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. This is one of the alternate win cons in this deck. Obviously, drawing out your entire library using our commander and then having Laboratory Maniac on the board is going to secure us the victory. But some other notable good stuff cards are Denic Pious Apprentice that transform into Denic Pious Apparition, Aethersworn Sphinx, Illustrious Wanderglyph, Nettlecyst, Propaganda, Thistledown Liege, and Urza Lord Protector. But that is my deck for Exquisite Proft Master Sleuth, and I would love to know what you think down below. Was this a good deck? Did you like the new format for me making these videos? Are there cards you would have added or taken out? Would you have fallen way harder into the clue token side of this? Would you have fallen harder into maybe the life gain side of this? Or, just drawing more cards in general? Let me know down in the comments down below. I would love to see what you guys have to say. This is a new commander. I haven't really seen anything about it, so this is how I thought this deck should be built, and thank you so much. And if you aren't subscribed, please do so. Like I said, I'm going to be putting out at least 5 of these decks in the next week or two, so this is going to be very, very fun to see how these new sets and deck work, and I'm very much looking forward to this new set as it comes out. And if you could do me one more thing and share this video with a friend or leave a like, that would really help push this and get more people to see it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. In today's Scryfall card of the day is Rank Officer. It recruits the flesh and tosses the rotten. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.